Hey, what's up? Addie Stewart coming at you once again, also known as Malcolm Lovejoy, or you might know me as Mind Bender Supreme. Doing another reading from Sex and God by Darrel Ray. You know, when you really live the sex life and the godly life, sometimes the path is difficult. So, once in a while I gotta just take a breather. Sometimes I really need to just take time off the internet from putting myself out there and from putting my relationships out there and putting my information out there and just meditate quietly in the physical world, actual, natural, Mother Nature world. So thank you for your patience. I have returned. I will always return the best I can. Anyways, I was talking about religious maps last time. It was really dope. And the sexual maps that lead us to guide us to take us where we make our decisions and stuff. That's basically what we have. The maps are the walls, barriers, and kind of things in our mind that guide us to someone or away from someone, or away from ourselves. But yeah, I'll just continue. The sexual map we acquire in youth includes body image, masturbatory guilt, sexual preferences, and more. From what turns us on to what turns us off. From attitudes about menstruation to the right of women to wear certain clothing. But using this guilt and shame-ridden map as a guide to sexuality is like using a map of an ancient sewer city system to locate the fiber optic network. What if the only map we had was a city that was made 2,000 years ago? How useful would it be today? My city was an open prairie 2,000 years ago with no roads and maybe a few animal paths. A map of that reality would be of little use today. Here on Turtle Island, Ontario region, yeah, need to update our maps to deal with our updated sexualities and relationship realities. An accurate map of a city or a country requires measurement, constant adjustment, and updating. I like when good people think alike with you. Aha. No map can display every aspect of a particular landscape. Yes, the map is not the territory. That's a really wise eternal saying. But still, does a road map tell where the sewer pipes are? Does it show where the best soil is for planting? Maps are only an approximation of the territory. But they're the best we have. Sometimes, if we have not traveled, we don't have our imagination with us. As in, the imagination that we have when we experience a territory. But besides that, actual imagination, it's nothing. Usually based on fear. Religion tries to give us maps of sexuality that are no better than a 2,000-year-old map of my hometown. In addition, each religion also tries to convince us that their map is never wrong or inaccurate. If you have trouble understanding or interpreting the map, you need to only talk to your imam, priest, or minister. They can show you the way. If I were convinced that my 2,000-year-old hometown map was a God-inspired and totally accurate map, I would ignore buildings, concrete, trees, cars, and any other object that was not on my map. I would refuse to believe what was right before my eyes, and then very likely something terrible would happen, like crashing a car into a tree or a building. It seems like an absurd idea, but it's roughly the same as someone trying to use the Bible as a guide to sexuality. Brilliant metaphor, perfect parallel. In the last 100 years, we've learned a lot about the human. We've learned a lot of. Oh, there's a typo in the book. A lot about human sexuality and sexual development. There are hundreds of Christian books on marriage. One of the longtime bestsellers is Sacred Marriage. What if God designed marriage to make us holy more than to make us happy? By Gary Thomas. Oh my God, that title. What if God designed marriage to make us holy more than to make us happy? Wow. Using this book as a map for sex and marriage teaches how to pray better, deal with conflicts through faith in Jesus, and how to deny sexual appetite. We don't deny our food appetites, do we? And if we do, those are called unhealthy diets, aren't they? Yeah. Nowhere does the book discuss how to negotiate a fetish scene with your partner, nor does it contain information on fun, healthy sex. That's a shame. But it does have a lot of ideas about how wrong sex is in the eyes of God. I thought God doesn't judge. The underlying message, repeated ad nauseum, is one of guilt, couched in spiritual language. Sex is a minor part of God's plan and shouldn't be an important. Sex is a minor part of God's plan and shouldn't be an important part of a faith-based marriage. It's not until chapter 11, Sexual Saints, Marital Sexuality, can provide spiritual insights and character development that Thomas discusses sex. Chapter 11. Most people deal with sex in like the second or third chapter of their life, like early. You don't want to wait to tell people the reality of possibly and probably the deepest exchange of energy one can share with a human being. But, follow your own guidance. We are just suggesting that the guidance that you have been given so far has some issues. Thomas's book, as well as most Christian marriage books, is an excellent exercise in how to create huge amounts of guilt between two married people. The irony of groups and that study books like this is that many, if not most, have had sex before marriage, masturbate, and peek at porn occasionally, all the while pretending that they never do such things. In other words, they are behaving like human beings even though they pretend that there's some ethereal spiritual entity that inhabits their body and watches them day and night to keep them righteous. Which is also true, but that doesn't mean that sexuality negates the magic of spirituality and their ethereal light. They feed into each other. The book is all about God. It is really a threesome, with an invisible man in the middle, constantly meddling with the pleasure and bonding that ordinarily develops between married couples. I love that, man. This is a formula for disastrous sexual communication and ultimately divorce or a sexless marriage. Having talked to and witnessed uncounted Christian marriages, I have concluded the product of this kind of training is anxiety and guilt. Within a few years, sex loses meaning and fun, becomes perfunctory, and may cease altogether. 'Tis a shame. Don't defile yourself or you will go blind. All religions have something to say about sex, and it rarely coincides with scientific knowledge of sex and sexuality. How many times has a young person suffered through the night, praying and asking Jesus or Allah to help him not defile himself by masturbating? How many young lives have been destroyed in Iran, Pakistan, or Saudi Arabia because religious parents caught their daughter kissing a boy? So sad. How many Baptists or Catholics have suffered through years of sexual deprivation because their religion prohibits premarital sex? How many pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases, infections have children of evangelicals contracted because their religion disapproves of sexual education? Yes, that's real. Many a person has been prohibited from exploring a possible relationship with a perfectly good partner only because of the other's religion. Many people have been discouraged from enjoying their own bodies in perfectly harmless yet enjoyable ways because a priest or imam told them such actions would send them to hell or make them go blind, which hasn't happened ever. Most people that are deeply religious will claim that sex is sacred. Yes, it is. The sacred rules associated with a given religion invariably coincide with the interests of the religion in forwarding its own propagation. Rarely does a religion allow true human sexual expression. Underline, highlight, extremely true. Rarely does a religion allow truly human sexual expression. This had to be repeated. Religions claim we are not animals. We should not behave like animals in our sexual expression. How do we procreate and perpetuate the species? Through an animalistic act called sex. We are animals. We're mammals. Face the fact. Sorry. Not sorry. Yet religions of all kinds prescribe sexual behavior that looks far more like those of animals than of humans. For example, the Pope's prescription of sex looks remarkably like the way dogs, cows, or cats express their species sexuality. A Muslim or Southern Baptist has views of sex that are more closely related to the reproductive strategies of insects. For example, most animals have sex only when they are in heat or sexually receptive for procreation. Humans can have sex anytime. Procreation is a small part of human sex. Recreation and bonding is far more important. Therefore, to have sex only for procreation is not human, but more like other animals. Humans may have sex thousands of times for every live birth. No dog or insect does that. This is just good stuff to think about. That's the point where I'm going to stop today because it's my birthday in 7 minutes. So I got to thank Darrel. My life wouldn't be the beautiful thing that it is without things like understanding that love is paradise and sex is heaven. If you feel it to be, it could be hell if you feel it to be. The choice is yours. Wow. I also want to give a shout out to Drake. I saw Drake yesterday at the OVO basketball game. It was really good to see the homie. What up? Gotta link up with you soon. Alright. Happy birthday to me. Peace and love to you. Love and love to you and the people that you make love with. And enjoy reality. It's a fantasy. Mind Bender loves you.